It was many years ago that I went to a language and literacy, no, it was on reading comprehension.
Yes,
the training was on reading comprehension. Now, obviously, as a speech and language therapist who's passionate about literacy, I went to this presentation, and I remember sitting in the hall and on this very uncomfortable chair and looking at who is now right here and just looking at this person and going, oh, she is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And spoke with such authority around reading and language and reading comprehension, and you'd done that work with the teacher, and was just sharing just such incredible work. And I remember sitting there thinking, wow, just wow. And then I think I saw you again at a Clinical Excellence Network meeting, and you were running it. Doing what Sarah does, running around. And there was no chance of getting hold of Sarah because you were running around. But I was like, would love to have chatted to you. But anyway, that opportunity came and went. And then I can't really remember what role it was that went out there. No, it wasn't a role.
It wasn't. So what happened was, obviously what had been happening in tandem was that, Amanda, you were on your own language and literacy journey, and I was on my own language and literacy journey, working in a school, realising the connections with it all, and working really closely with a literacy specialist and developing all these programmes that actually ended up being almost the same. But in tandem to each other. And then I was, the way I actually discovered Words First was that I went back to work after maternity leave, and somebody said, because I was working for the NHS at the time, they said, oh, this is the company that are now going into a school that the NHS were going into. So it was Pimlico, which was one of the schools that we were working in, Words First were working in, and the NHS were working in. And my colleague at the time said, oh, this is where they're going. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And I started having a look and kind of delving into it all a bit more, and saw that this is something I think, and I don't know how, maybe, I don't know whether, I think maybe we just connect. I think you put an advert out. She was pointing at, can't remember how it happened exactly, but basically we then got in contact and we just started talking. And
well, I remember your name popped into my inbox with your maiden name. And I remember that, and I thought,
because you hadn't been able to contact me, because then after that I must have got married, and then you didn't know who I was to contact. So to find Sarah Peters wasn't going to be easy.
But then this name popped up in my inbox, and I thought, oh, is this the same person? And it was. And then I was just ecstatic, because I couldn't believe how lucky I was, and it was the most incredible opportunity.
And it was just the right point, I think. And Words First had got to that point where you could you needed someone else to come in and be with you, because obviously when it was growing, it wouldn't have needed two people at that point. But also it was the right point for me, and I was getting very, like, as I said, as I said before, but just thinking about how wanting to be able to deliver all that work I've been doing around language and literacy, but then being shoehorned into having to just focus on EHCPs and just being able to deliver the children, those, and just finding it quite frustrating. And I am a person who likes to see a problem and try and fix that problem, come up with a solution, and be quite dynamic and be able to kind of, and so being part of Words First, I'm able to actually do that and be able to kind of like make the changes. So this isn't working, let's do this, let's make it. And I think that's been so exciting. But even just that, I was thinking about, and you're talking about it, so there isn't there wasn't a straightforward recruitment process either from there. So I came with tiny Jake, and he was crawling around on the floor at Kids First.
That is right. I remember that day. It was with Emma.
Yes.
Who was the clinic administrator at Kids First.
That's right, yeah.
I remember Jake, who's now...
Yeah, because it was kind of like it wasn't an interview, but it kind of was an interview.
I had my eye on you.
I was like, I've got to bring my baby here.
Yeah,
there we go.
We had to see what the synergy was like. Yeah. But being a new mum, and I'd been there myself, and I knew that if you were going to join us, it's you and your family.
Yes, exactly.
This was very much all in kind of approach. But how lucky we were.
Yeah, I know. And for me, for both of us, I think it's just been such a good connection. And now here we are, 10 years on.
Gosh, 10 years, yeah.